Good afternoon, everybody. Anthony Aniano here from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com with an early look at your fantasy football waiver wire for Week 10 of your fantasy football season. Now, full disclosure, as always, recording this Sunday night before the Sunday night and Monday night matchups. Yahoo roster percentages trying to keep it at 50% or more availability in Yahoo leagues will be the players mentioned, all right? Let's take a look back right now real quick. Week 9 injuries to be mindful of. Dak Prescott left the game for the Cowboys with a hamstring. Wide receivers, Chris Olave with a concussion. CeeDee Lamb with a shoulder injury, although he went back in the game. Drake London with a hip and A.J. Brown with a knee. Those were the big injuries coming out of Week 9. Running backs seem to have stayed healthy as of this moment in the week, although, like I said, anything could still happen with the Sunday and Monday night matchups. Now, Week 10, 4 teams are on a bye. No Cleveland Browns, no Green Bay Packers, Las Vegas Raiders, and Seattle Seahawks all getting the bye week off. We'll start at the quarterback position. 3 quarterbacks to be mindful of. If you're looking to make up for Dak Prescott, you're still scrambling after Anthony Richardson getting benched, or maybe you have Jordan Love or Geno Smith as your quarterback. First up, Aaron Rodgers of the New York Jets. It finally clicked Thursday night against the Houston Texans with Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. He's available in 57% of Yahoo leagues. Thursday night against Houston, he went 22 of 32, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tough to ignore a quarterback who has Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams, and Breece Hall catching passes from him. He finished the game with 26.3 fantasy points in a 6-point per passing touchdown format. Good matchup next week against the Arizona Cardinal defense. Up second, Justin Herbert, as the Los Angeles Chargers have started to realize he's your best offensive player, not J.K. Dobbins, and Justin Herbert's ankle has gotten healthy. He's played better and better. 20 or more fantasy points in each of his last 2 games in a 6-point per passing touchdown format. He's available in 56% of leagues. This week, 18 of 27, 282, 2 touchdowns. Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson getting those touchdown receptions. 23.5 fantasy points. Goes up against the Tennessee Titans in Week 10. And finally, Drake May of the New England Patriots. Drake May, 11% rostered, makes him 89% available. 206 yards, 1 touchdown. More mobile, I think, than people realize. 8 rushes for 95 yards, 17.7 fantasy points. And listen, that final play, I know he got intercepted there in overtime, but that final play of regulation where he moved around in the pocket, drew the play out to last almost 9 seconds, and then found Ramondre Stevenson was a fantastic play, to be honest. They are on the road against the Chicago Bears, is Drake May and the Patriots next week. At the running back position, 2 running backs to be mindful of. Again, dealing with the bye. Maybe it's Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker of Seattle you're looking to make up for. Ray Davis of the Buffalo Bills has been steady even as James Cook back up, and he's grossly under-rostered at 21%. He's available in 79% of leagues. 4 rushes for 20 yards, 2 catches for 70, and a touchdown. He's given you double-digit points now in multiple weeks, including 2 weeks in a row. The 2 for 70 and the touch included, I think it was a 63-yarder for Ray Davis. Finished with 17 points. And it's a great matchup for the Buffalo rushing attack next week against the Indianapolis Colts. Second, another PPR him to death type of wide receiver. That's Justice Hill of the Baltimore Ravens. 20% rostered, 80% available. He finished with 8.8 fantasy points this week. 3 catches for 43 yards. We know Derrick Henry's doing the heavy lifting, rushing the ball. But Justice Hill, if he could give you a couple of catches and 40 yards receiving as a bye week fill-in, he may very well be useful next week against the Cincinnati Bengals. At the wide receiver position, 3 wide receivers to be mindful of. Quentin Johnson of the Chargers. He had been out the last few weeks with the high ankle sprain. He's back, and he has a monster game. 4 catches, 118 yards, and a touch, including the 66-yard touchdown reception on 5 targets. He's available in 85% of leagues. Finished with 22 fantasy points, I believe, next week against Tennessee. I love that matchup for the Chargers offense against the Titans next week. So he had some nice games early. He was injured, came back, put up a nice performance for the Chargers this week. Nick Westbrook-Akine of the Tennessee Titans taking advantage of DeAndre Hopkins being traded. 1% rostered, available in 99% of Yahoo leagues. 5 for 50 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 16 fantasy points at the Chargers next week. A little bit of a tough matchup for Tennessee. but it's tough to ignore Westbrook Akine when you consider the fact now that he has a touchdown in 4 straight games. And finally, Demarcus Robinson of the Rams. Now, we benefited with Puka Nacua getting thrown out of the game. He's 12% rostered, 88% available. This week, 6 for 64, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime against Seattle. Demarcus Robinson has 4 touchdowns in his last 2 games. 2 straight games of 2 touchdowns. He's got 5 touchdowns over the last 4 games. Okay, 27.4 fantasy points against the Miami Dolphins next week. He's more, understand, it's still Cooper, it's still Nacua, and he still have Tutu Atwell there. But Demarcus Robinson is getting his nose in the end zone, similar to what happened last year, I believe, when he got on a hot streak later on in the season. Now, at the tight end position, some people will talk about Taysom Hill this week. I won't. I don't trust it. It's inconsistent, and that Saints team is just in shambles at this point. But there are 2 rookie tight ends I do like and who are finding their groove right now in the NFL. New York Giants tight end Theo Johnson, 99% available, 10 targets over his last 2 games, has his best game of the season this week against Washington, 3 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets, 14.1 fantasy points, and it's a great matchup next week for the Giants offense on the road at the Carolina Panthers. Now, I don't fully trust Daniel Jones, but Theo Johnson, Malik Nabers, Tyrone Tracy, the trio of rookies they drafted this year, could have an impact in that game against the Carolina Panthers. And Jatavian Sanders of the Carolina Panthers is on a nice roll as well. Available also 99% of leagues. Both of these rookie tight ends are only 1% rostered. 4 for 87 this week, 12.7 fantasy points on 5 targets. He's got 5 or more targets in 3 of the last 4 games for the Carolina Panthers, as he's emerging as their starting tight end as well. Obviously, they go up against the New York Giants next week. So to recap, in my early look at the waiver wire for Week 10, players to consider at the quarterback position, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, and Drake May. Running backs, Ray Davis and Justice Hill. Wide receivers, Quentin Johnson, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Demarcus Robinson. And tight ends, Theo Johnson and Jatavian Sanders. All right, everybody, go to RotoBaller.com right now. Sign up for the NFL Premium Pass. Use the promotional code ACES and save at checkout. Like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. And download the RotoBaller app. It's completely free. Whether you're interested in DFS, season-long, or sports betting, RotoBaller.com has you covered. Give me a follow on Twitter at @Aniano Fantasy. And we will see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.